Exactly. Yeah. So it's almost like there's two in the one body, and the awareness is now aware of the chatter of the mind, and it realizes that there's a separation between the awareness and the chatter and the mind and the ego, and that's when that's you're becoming aware of the self. That's what's happening. The self is waking up to itself, the reality of itself, and it's starting to see that the mind and the thoughts and all these crazy ideas in the head are just almost like this crazy computer program that's just running by itself, and you're aware of it. Advice on it? Well, I would say one of the best things you can do is self inquiry. Just just quiet. Is that so? Okay. So it's something that will naturally take place eventually, but I would say to keep doing self inquiry. Keep catching the voice every time it comes up, and practice some sort of, you know, to whom do these thoughts arise? Who, you know, you keep catching it and you keep questioning it. Who am I? Who am I? Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're going back to. It's like you had all these great questions that you were asking me, and it was just as if I couldn't go into that place to answer them for you, and it was just like it's just like I don't care, and I'm not being rude, or I'm not being, trying to avoid your question. It's just that my mind isn't wired that way now to think about something so complex, and I'm just like, it just, to me, it hurts my head, and it completely dissolves. It completely like falls back in on itself, and just, I don't know what happens. But again, it's that sounds to me like the I thought may have dissolved, because that's what it feels like. It feels like all of a sudden it's like I can't find that place, that part in my brain that's able to, you know work out something analytical, or problem solving. It seems to be lost somewhere. It's almost like somebody removes that part of your brain. I love it, Ollie. I love it. Yeah. So everything is just arising, and it's just, everything is just happening spontaneously in that field of unity. It's just like it comes up, you deal with it, and that's it. It just, it arises, and then it crumbles when you take your attention away from it. Yeah. So I find that my life runs a lot better without my brain getting in the way. I know it sounds really strange, but just, it just looks after itself. Everything just gets done. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to plan. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Ollie. It's like there's a part of you, before all of this happens, and it's like you're planning out what I'm going to do, how this day is going to work. This is going to pop up at 11. I'm going to solve that. At 12, I'm going to do this. And it's like you have it all laid out for the week. And then all of a sudden this happens, and all of that just goes out the window. And it's just, it's almost like you just fall into this space of surrender, and you just surrender to whatever arises. There's no planning, there's no trying to get away from stuff or avoid that awkward, situation that you might bump into someone at the shops that you don't want to see. It's just, everything happens, and you just deal with it in the moment. And that's what it is. Sure. Yeah, it's a tool that you get to choose then when you need to use it. And then when you're finished, you put it back in the box. Yeah, well, even that awareness, will, is the start of it. There has to be an, see, most people don't even have that awareness. It's just the thoughts arise. They believe that they are the thoughts. There's no separation. They're completely caught up in in the mind and the thoughts. And if something happens, that's them, and that's life, and that's how it is. The fact that you're now able to catch, even though you can't really do anything about it, it's just happening. There's an awareness of it. And if there's an awareness of it, there's a separation between the awareness and the thought. And it just, there's enough separation now just to be able to kind of step back into that awareness and realize that you are not these thoughts. And you just said it there, that you have no control from where they come from. They just come. They just bubble up out of nowhere. Yeah, and your job is just not to pay any attention to them, Will. Just, okay, it may come up, it may, call someone a name, it may get angry, but you just look at it and you treat it like it's some sort of a child misbehaving, and you just go, okay, it's just my mind. I don't pay any attention to it. I am not that. I am the awareness that's aware of that. And eventually what happens is it just loses interest. The mind just starts to realize that it's not getting attention, and it just, over time, it just starts to quieten down because it's not getting anywhere. It's not grabbing your attention anymore. So what happens is, go on, sorry, Will, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. So it has to start somewhere, and normally the process of self-realization and awakening, the very first is witnessing, is the witness comes online, and it starts to watch you as your hands, as you're doing something in work. All of a sudden you notice that you're not completely engulfed in your thoughts and your mind. There's a separateness, there's a spaciousness now that's looking in on you as you work, as you're driving, as the car, you're moving the steering wheel, changing the gears. The witness is now watching that, and it's almost like it's not yet self-realization, but you've stepped out of ignorance. You're no longer in ignorance when that's come on. Yeah. So just keep doing what you're doing. No, no, no. But the fact that you're aware that the mind is doing what it's doing in the stressful situations is very good, because most people can't do that. They just become part of the stress. They become part of the situation. Everything's just happening. There's anger, frustration, but there's no separateness. You're now able to watch that, and you're able to see it. So what I was going to say is, so anger or frustration arises, okay? There's an awareness of the anger. Therefore, you are not the anger. You are not the frustration. You're the awareness of it. So that William that's come in and is getting frustrated and angry, he's an imposter, complete imposter, and you have never thought to challenge him on who put him in charge. We just, okay, the mind is there, it's running the show, and we just accept it. But we never think to check, hang on, who actually are you? Who's put you in charge? Yeah, you're doing great, Will. I know it's like when you're on an intensive, you're kind of plugged into that field of peace, and yeah, yeah. I agree. It's almost like a guided meditation, Lynn. So when you get someone who's really really creative, and they're kind of bringing you along a guided meditation, and they're telling you to feel the grass and pick up the sensations, and to smell the roses around in the meditation. That's what it's doing. It's taking your attention out of the mind, and you're putting it on your senses. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm imagining the scent of roses, or I'm imagining the texture of the grass, that I've just picked up in my hand. And that's what you're doing with the Shakti. You're now going, okay, let's come out of the busy mind, and let's focus on that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling that's, pervading around the body, and it's nice and it's blissful, and you can get more and more caught up in that sensations, and all of a sudden it gets more intense the more you put your attention on it. So you're exactly right, Lynn. I would totally agree. Or you can use the sat. The sat is the same. I prefer the sat. So when it comes in, I just put my attention on it and I'm gone. Yeah, I agree. I think the people in this group though are very blessed. They all experience Shakti. But I don't think the majority of people it works for. A lot of people they just can't pick it up. This Yeah, I kind of noticed that the post you were doing in Backgap, you were somehow trying to just kind of give them a little nudge in that direction. I know, I could see what you were doing, Lynn. Yeah, yeah. But the thing is that the majority of the people on that forum they don't know what Shakti is, and that's why I feel the self realization to people like them may be their only tool because they just can't pick up on the Shakti. Yeah, but you're right. It is a great tool to have when you feel it or the sat. Just put your attention on it. It comes in. It just takes you there straight away. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Desi, you're a nice guy. Who wouldn't want to be you? But look, I get it. I get it as well. I went through something similar. I was like, but I like being me. The fact that you lose the personality. I was kind of like, oh, how does that work? I like my personality. I like being me. But when you become so, when the self becomes so dominant, there's not a fear in the world about the personality. It's like, oh, they could just disappear now, and I'm just so happy being in the bliss of the self. It's just you just don't worry about it. That seems to be what's creeping in for you, Desi. The self is becoming more to the foreground, and Desi's starting to kind of slip back. He's not so important. Yeah, we'll miss you though, Desi, if you do go. Thanks, Desi.